With the speed of artificial intelligence really ramping up in the past few years, today we explore the possibility of saving lives in one of our most dangerous sports. Later, we'll discover whether participants learn from their compatriots' deadly mistakes. There's no doubt that catching fish from the ocean rocks can be exciting and exhilarating. And the thought of that big fish taking your bait can really get the emotions flowing. However, there are risks associated with rock fishing. After all, it's one of the most dangerous sports that there is. I've lost people that I've known to the ocean. Not only being washed off the rocks, but also climbing down rocks, having rocks give way around the ocean cliffs. So there's more than just the surf that's a danger. Now, I've seen the ocean like a picture postcard. Calm, sunny, beautiful and relaxing, and carry with it very few risks. However, when it becomes angry and nasty, it can swallow you up in seconds. Some rock platforms are definitely more dangerous than others. Today, I'm visiting some of the most dangerous rock platforms in the country. I'm at Kiama on the New South Wales south coast, and here at Blowhole Point in particular, there's been 11 lives lost in the past 15 years to rock fishing. So why are some rock platforms more dangerous than others? And this can be governed by a number of things like location, whether it gets exposed to the ocean swells, whether it's inside a bay or the depth of the ocean, the height above the water, swell direction, type of swell. There are many factors involved in just how dangerous that rock platform's going to be. Now, there are many different types of swells or waves. There can be a local swell or a solid ground swell. All these factors can have a bearing on the danger or the risks involved at any specific time. And these risk factors are forever changing. So how do we reduce the potential danger to not only rock fishers, but other people, including kids who love to explore and discover the occupants of the many rock pools that are scattered across our rock platforms? So for safety's sake, if you decide you're going to go rock fishing, you need to check the forecast before you go. You need to work out size of the swell, swell direction, how many swells are running. Often there's 2 or even 3 swells running at the same time. If they come together, they can merge and create huge waves. Another important factor is besides the size of the waves, is the time between crests of the waves or the peak of the waves. This will determine how big the swell is, whether it's a ground swell or just a local swell. If it's a ground swell, it's coming from a long way away. So the peaks are a long distance apart. They could be 12, 14 seconds apart. It means they contain a lot of water. So when they make contact with the bottom, they'll start to break and they'll start losing their power. The power will start to be dispersed throughout the water and they become much safer after they're broken. However, if you're on a rock and you've got green water lifting up over that rock and just the green water coming across that rock, that's when most of the power is there, and that's when people get into the most trouble. If it breaks out wide, there's full of white water, there's a lot of air in there, the power's been distributed, well, it's not as bad. But most people are certainly not aware of counting between the peaks of the wave. The other thing to consider is sets of waves. Sets of waves come through every, it could be 5 minutes, could be 10, could be half an hour or more. However, you need to be aware that when sets come through, and they're often in sets of 3, I mean I've seen them 6 and 7, I reckon they come through up to about 15 in a set. So they're, and then it goes back to your normal waves. But these are all things you need to be aware of when you're rock fishing. So once you arrive at the rock platform, you should stop and observe. Observe the waves, see what's happening, see how big that swell is. Have we got a incoming tide or an outgoing tide? It can make a difference to the swell size and the amount of water that's hitting those rocks. So I'd suggest 20 to 30 minutes, especially when there's a bit of swell around, that you wait before you actually go down, if it's then safe to do so. When you're spending your 20 or 30 minutes watching, what you're looking for is the sets coming through. Are there sets coming through, and how big are those sets? It'll give you a fair indication of what the conditions are going to be like. If it's an incoming tide, expect those sets to get bigger as the tide reaches its peak. The other thing to consider is the moon phase. If we're around the first and last quarter of the moon, there's not going to be a great deal of range in the tides. However, if it's around the new moon and the full moon, either side of that, there's a good chance that those tides are going to be much bigger, and of course a bigger range means an increase or decrease in swell size accordingly. So just be aware of that. Then of course the other thing to consider is fishing with one or two mates. So if you do get into trouble, you've got someone there to assist and help to get you out of the water, or to at least call for emergency services or whatever it is. Anyway, go out there, enjoy your rock fishing, but stay safe. You've got families and friends that rely on you all the time, and it's important for them that you don't get wiped out on the rocks just merely trying to catch a couple of fish. It's not worth it. So here in Kiama, because of the number of deaths around these rock platforms, they've set up 2 AI cameras, trialling them at the moment, just to try and identify when people leave those rocks. If they get washed off the rocks, these cameras can pick it up. In fact, just recently there was an incident where a fella got washed off the rocks. He had a life jacket on, thank God, and he was afloat, but the camera alerted the emergency services pretty much straight away. They arrived at the scene, got him out of the water within about 3/4 of an hour. So it does really show that these cameras might be a thing of the future and that they're really going to work. However, do not rely on a camera to keep you safe in the water. If you get washed into that water, you don't have a life jacket and you can't swim, 3/4 of an hour is a damn long time to try and keep yourself afloat if you're not sure what you're doing. Even a strong swimmer in rough conditions can have trouble staying afloat, especially if you hit your head or something like that on the way in. Anyway, life jackets important, even, you know, maybe some headgear. Now you will still see scattered around some of the ocean rocks and platforms these life buoys. Now they're a device that are used to throw into someone that gets into trouble when they're washed into the water. These things are designed to give assistance. That's it. Give assistance when someone is in trouble. But wearing a life jacket is far more advantageous because you've got the thing on you when you go in the water if you get washed in. Now it's a weekend and I've decided to venture out onto these rock platforms in Kiama just to see how many people are actually fishing, and secondly to see how many of them are in fact wearing life jackets and how safety conscious they are. There's an old saying that you never turn your back on the waves when you're rock fishing. However, on this day I saw plenty of people doing that. As you can see, there are plenty of people scattered across these rock platforms. Many of them I know cannot swim. Even some of those that can't swim are not wearing life jackets. So I counted 39 people fishing on the rocks. There were some other people there, obviously family who weren't fishing. Of those 39, there were 18 wearing life jackets. Now that is a much higher percentage than I've counted in previous years, although it still can be improved upon. Be nice to see all of them wearing life jackets. I'd just like to say well done to Kiama Council on their initiative to get so many warning signs up all around these rock platforms, and also for their initiative in getting these trials going for these AI cameras. I hope that we can see these AI cameras in future around a lot more of our rock platforms and also our beaches, because our beaches are not immune from these big swells at times. Council have also been running a public survey just asking people if they think wearing life jacket on the various rock platforms in this area should be compulsory. As mentioned, rock fishing can be super exciting, so go out there and enjoy it, but remember, keep safe. If you'd like to see more of my videos in future, make sure you subscribe to get updated each time I post a new video. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.